What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday we had that Sony State of Play, and going in with lower expectations, I was pleasantly surprised. There was a lot of stuff here being announced and shown off, and we're going to go over all that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a big announcement from Nintendo when it comes to their theme parks expanding outside of Japan, and we're also going to be talking about Sony's big push into the PC gaming space with their PlayStation Studios as they announced another one. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, not Modern Warfare 2 from back in 2009, Modern Warfare 2 that's coming out later this year. Now we have the official reveal date and time, which they released this trailer here. Now, we will have a worldwide Modern Warfare 2 reveal June 8th, 10 a.m. Pacific, and that lines up with what Tom Henderson has been saying now for the past couple of weeks, I believe, just going more and more into Call of Duty having their big blowout reveal that I assume is going to be multiplayer and campaign focused. So I'm sure they'll have a lot to talk about, and it looks like we could be seeing the return of the Call of Duty franchise to Steam. Remember, you have like that battle.net launcher that people have been using for Call of Duty, as Steam did quote tweet them with the little eyes, little shifty eyes there. So good news, obviously, for people who maybe don't want to use the battle.net launcher and would prefer to just keep everything in their Steam library. So we'll just have to keep an eye out again for June 8th when we'll have the big reveal. And while it looks like more and more people are starting to get their Steam Decks, or at least the email that says it's finally your turn to pay for it and we'll send it out, there is one accessory that Valve had talked about previously alongside the Steam Deck that unfortunately has been delayed, which we can see this over on the steampowered.com website. Steam Deck docking station delayed. Hi, all due to part shortages and COVID closures at our manufacturing facilities. The official Steam Deck docking station is delayed. We're working on improving the situation, and we'll share more info when we have it. This has no effect on production schedule and reservation windows for Steam Decks, different parts, different factories. Now, they also mentioned they will be working to improve the experience with USB-C hubs and external displays, and it's not great right now. Like, the Steam Deck doesn't exactly play nice when it comes to resolution, especially in different games. If you hook it up to a monitor or use one of those USB-C to HDMI hubs, it's kind of touch and go depending on which game you're playing. So it would have been nice to have this dock out alongside of the Steam Deck, but as they say here, parts, supply chain, manufacturing, all of that is still kind of up in the air, so we'll just have to keep an eye out to see when they have a new release date for it. Hopefully it's not too far out. Oh, and a couple of years ago, we did have that strange announcement that there was a new Dragon Age in development. It was like some concept art being shown and had the developers sort of talking about it. It certainly seemed like something that was spur of the moment, well before they had anything ready to show. But now they have revealed the official title for it. We can see this over on BioWare's website, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And it makes a lot of sense now why there is no EA Play Live this year, considering that they're still not ready to show much of anything right now. They say there will be more Dragon Age Dreadwolf later this year, saying we suspect you have questions and they'll be answered in time. While the game won't be releasing this year, we're growing closer to the next adventure. They have some more information there that I'll link down below in the sources if you wanted to go over. It just seems like they weren't necessarily ready to show anything about the game, like gameplay or even cinematics, but they were at least ready to talk about what the game's going to be called. So hopefully later this year, we can get our first glimpse at Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony State of Play. It's about 30 minutes long, and yes, it did indeed rely mostly on third-party reveals and PlayStation VR 2 games. But there's some good stuff here, and basically from start to finish, I felt like it moved along pretty well, and they opened up with one of the biggest reveals they could have, and that's Resident Evil 4 Remake. And they showed off some stuff in the game with Leon and some of the characters and enemies and settings, and it's coming March 24th, 2023. So Capcom showed up with a full release date for it. Awesome, awesome way to kick off the show, and I would say even set the tone. They went a bit further and said it will have PSVR 2 support along with Resident Evil Village, which I don't think that's surprising to anyone to hear that Resident Evil Village would have PSVR 2 support. I think I threw out a prediction during a Spawncast that we could see Resident Evil 4 have PSVR 2 compatibility in some way, because we've already seen Resident Evil 4 in VR with the Oculus. So, hey, pretty cool to see both of those Resident Evil games have PSVR 2 support. And of course, Resident Evil 4 being announced in less than a year away now. Then we had Walking Dead Retribution. That's coming out in 2022 and will also have PSVR 2 support. No Man's Sky will have PSVR 2 compatibility, and that makes a lot of sense actually for that game. And what they showed off looked pretty good. I haven't played No Man's Sky in a long time, and it looks like it's changed quite a bit. Then they showed off Horizon Call of the Mountain, and from what they were showing, it looks like we're gonna get a very close-up view of the different robots and all of this and the settings. But they kind of showed it more or less being free roaming. Like, I wasn't sure if this was going to be something that was just on rails completely, but no, it looked like they were moving around, they were climbing, they were traversing pretty freely here. Of course, that being a big PlayStation VR 2 title, one that I would expect to launch with the headset. And then we had Horizon Forbidden West getting a free update. This will have New Game Plus. You can reset your skills, harder mode, and then a few other notes, and that is out right now. Stray, that is coming out July 19th, as we saw that leak out a bit early through PlayStation Database. And interestingly enough, it will be dropping into PlayStation Plus Premium and extra tiers. I mean, that counts as, I guess, a day one release into the service. I know it's not the big PlayStation Studios AAA game, but I think it's at least an interesting one that people may check out just being dropped into that service. So, hey, pretty cool there. And then we saw the Callisto Protocol. It's coming out December 2nd, and a lot of people looked at it and said, hey, it's Dead Space. I mean, yeah, the studio, the people who formed the studio, made Dead Space. And you know what? Wow, this game looks absolutely brutal. I mean, they showed some pretty violent stuff happening, and it does have that sense of being alone and definitely a very scary setting there. So, hey, exciting stuff there for people who like Dead Space. Think about it. You have the Callisto Protocol, and then like less than 2 months later, you'll have the Dead Space remake. So really, really cool stuff. They showed off something called Roller Dome. This is certainly a unique looking game. It has like this cell shading effect to it, but it looked like you were kind of rollerblading around in a skate park and using like the dual pistols from Tomb Raider shooting everyone. That's coming out August 16th. And then we had Eternites. This is coming out early 2023, and it's certainly the anime game, if you will, of the show. It's described as an action dating game. It looks like the guy had his arm cut off, and then he can do all kinds of crazy stuff with his new arm with magic and all kinds of supernatural stuff there. And then they showed off Street Fighter 6 coming 2023. Also, it appears this is coming to the Xbox alongside of PlayStation, so Street Fighter won't just be a PlayStation only third-party game. It was always weird that happened that way, but most likely Sony helped to fund Street Fighter V quite heavily to keep it there. In this case, though, Capcom doesn't really have the issues they had previously in terms of finances. They're doing pretty well right now. So it looks like we'll be seeing that on basically all the platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, all this, right? That's 2023. They showed off some gameplay for it, and I think visually it looks good. I like the splash of color they do in there with some of the bigger moves. It kind of splashes like kind of paint everywhere, but definitely some very stylish aspects to it. And they showed off, I guess, what's like a multiplayer hub where you're sort of walking around a bit. Again, more information's needed, but at least we had a look at Street Fighter 6 and we know it is coming out 2023. Then we had Tunic make a surprising appearance here. That coming out September 27th on PlayStation platforms. And I guess that was like a 6-month or so like timed exclusivity deal with Microsoft. Of course, that had dropped right into Game Pass. They showed off a game called Season, A Letter to the Future. I feel like we've seen this one before. That coming out autumn 2022. And then Sony closed out with a game that everyone was hoping would be there. That being Final Fantasy 16. And I gotta say, the trailer looked really, really good. It was very action-focused with some of the gameplay and the battles they showed. It looked almost like one-on-one battles there. You had like the bars at the top with big numbers popping up, and summons were all over the place. They rifled through them real quick. They're like Shiva, Ifrit, Bahamut. I mean, they were just going back and forth, and it was very over the top. The combat was pretty fast, and people were mentioning, hey, this kind of reminds me of like a Devil May Cry. Yeah, it's certainly Final Fantasy 15 just sped up even more, but I would say the combat from what was shown in the glimpses looked a bit smoother than what we had in Final Fantasy 15. It's just, they've definitely gotten far, far away from the traditional turn-based combat that made Final Fantasy what it is, but it's more or less Square trying to adapt to the more popular combat and modern systems that we have now. This coming out summer 2023, so Square will have Forspoken going into the end of 2022, and then they'll start up their big marketing push, I'm sure, over the following 6 months leading into Final Fantasy 16, and wow, the showing here for this game, I mean, really got me excited for it. But overall, state of play, it was good. Like, from start to finish, it moved along pretty quick. It was basically trailer to trailer to trailer. There was gameplay there, and for the most part, it didn't feel like 30 minutes. It felt like half that time. And hey, they opened up strong with Resident Evil 4 Remake, and they closed strong with Final Fantasy 16. There was like maybe a kind of a lull there towards the end before Final Fantasy 16 really kicked things off at the end. But for the most part, I was pretty happy with what I saw. I think we can, for the most part, look at it and say, okay, there are 1 or 2 games that I really enjoyed and then a few others here and there, which, hey, for State of Play, which is not their big PlayStation showcase where they have the first-party titles like a God of War, like a Ghost of Tsushima, an Infamous, a Horizon, I was pretty satisfied with what I saw, but of course, let me know what you thought about it down below. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo making a big-time announcement for Super Nintendo World, which is a theme park I've talked about trying to get out to in Japan at some point. Wouldn't have been the easiest thing to do over the past couple of years. Fortunately, though, it looks like next year I may be able to visit Super Nintendo World because it will be opening in the US. We can see this tweet. Universal Studios Hollywood. Get ready. Super Nintendo World is coming to Universal Studios Hollywood in early 2023. There's a Mario there next to the logo. He looks a bit out of proportion, maybe a little taller than I think people were hoping for Mario, but hey, it's either way, it's good to see Super Nintendo World opening up here in the US in California. And they also had another tweet to follow this up saying, you've never experienced Mario Kart like this. Ride through iconic courses, throw shells, and collect coins to beat Team Bowser when Super Nintendo World opens at Universal Studios Hollywood in early 2023. Showing off a video of this, which of course, if you've been on YouTube and you've seen some of the videos showcasing this ride, you kind of use the augmented reality, the kind of the headset they give you, and it pops all these different things up as you're going through the ride. And it's actually a pretty cool hybrid of I guess the virtual side of things along with a traditional roller coaster. I also saw people mention online that they've been selling Super Nintendo World merchandise there for months now leading up to this announcement. So now it's just like, all right, we just got to see when it's going to officially open next year, and I guess I'll be going to Super Nintendo World at some point after that. It's just good to know that it'll be a bit easier to get there as opposed to me trying to figure out how to get it to Japan, and it's a bit harder now than it was previously, obviously. So hey, I will be checking out Super Nintendo World though over in Hollywood. As soon as we figure out the date, I'll start planning all that out, and I think it'll be a fun time. Maybe do some video for that and just kind of experience what Miyamoto would do if he was allowed to just build out an entire theme park, because some of the videos I've seen online for the one in Japan look absolutely stunning. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about one announcement that I did leave out of that State of Play roundup, and that has to do with another PlayStation Studios game heading to PC. I've been talking about this for a little while, that I do believe Sony is going to make a massive push onto the PC platform, and that includes just about all of their first-party games going over there at some point, and it will, I believe, build up to when they do a day-and-date release, like straight up. And now it looks like Spider-Man is heading to PC, and in fact, it looks like Miles Morales as well. This posted up over on VGC saying Marvel's Spider-Man and Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales will come to PC later this year, Sony has announced. We have the release date for this being for Spider-Man Remastered. That's August 12th, 2022, and Miles Morales will launch in fall 2022. This according to VGC after getting comment for it. And something else I'm sure a few of you noticed, when this trailer was starting up, did you notice a logo there? Nyx's Remember, Sony acquired Nixxes, who was known for porting stuff to PC, most likely to make this a bit easier overall, and less issues, I would say, with what we've seen for Horizon Zero Dawn. When that went to PC initially, there were a lot of issues that had to be ironed out afterwards, especially things frame rate and all kinds of bugs that popped up. God of War was better, and now we're seeing Nixxes come in and work on Spider-Man alongside of Insomniac. And to go a bit further than that, there are also images now popping up online, which you can see this over on Twitter. This from Joe Miller, who appears to have grabbed these from Reddit, from Glock, but these are PC screenshots of Returnal and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. I'm inclined to believe that these are correct, only because we've seen these in that NVIDIA leak, and I mean, there's one thing you don't doubt, it's that NVIDIA GeForce Now leak. It's been right like almost every single time now. So you see Spider-Man Miles Morales go to PC. We hear about Sackboy, we hear about Returnal going there, and I mean, at this point, Sony is all in on PC. I mean, that's good, obviously, because they're make a ton of money from Spider-Man going there, which in turn will then cycle back into where they can make bigger games using the money that they're getting from PC gamers who are going to be buying Spider-Man Remastered probably for like 40 or 50 bucks. Same with Miles Morales, and it'll just continue to build up what Sony wants to do, which are these massive AAA $200, $300 million games. But it's a good move for Sony, and hey, it's good that more people get to play these games, and I'm just waiting for Sony to eventually announce their launcher so that they can bypass the 30% that Steam is taking from them, because after seeing Spider-Man get announced, everything else will follow, and I think that eventually means you will have to download a PlayStation launcher to buy these games, but maybe that's a bit further into the future, we'll see. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll I posted up yesterday, where I asked, give the Sony State of Play a grade. A got 20%, B got 42%, and then C got 21%. You know what? That's not bad. That means 83% said it was satisfactory or even above average. Hey, 20% giving it an A is really good, actually. D got 6%. Somehow 10% of people gave it an F. I don't know how you could look at that State of Play and give it an F. I mean, Resident Evil 4 Remake, by the way, there was a disturbing lack of excitement on Twitter for Resident Evil 4 Remake. Best game, one of the best games ever made, getting a remake after Capcom's already done Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 and figured a lot of that stuff out with the RE engine. Now you're bringing in Resident Evil 4. It's going to be a phenomenal experience. I am very excited for that one, but like, looking up and down that State of Play, I thought it was really good. I would go with at least a B. I mean, maybe even an A. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Tim Z saying, even with the schedule Game Freak have from the Pokemon Company, I think the biggest franchise on the planet perhaps warrants some investment in new studios, talent, all taking multiple years to make new Pokemon games. Kind of similar to what Activision does with Call of Duty, except not taking studios off of other projects to work it, like actual new studios. They have to have the money, right? I mean, I don't think the money's the issue. As we hear right now in gaming, hiring talent is becoming more and more of an issue now, and Game Freak has multiple teams that will take years on these projects. Some of these Pokemon games take 3 years to make, and the other thing that people sometimes forget is the Pokemon Company is a private company. It's made up of 3 different entities, that being Creatures, Nintendo, and Game Freak. So Game Freak also calls some of the shots when it comes to development, so if they want to be the ones that develop Pokemon just going forward and it's not running into issues like all of a sudden they can't sell copies or something, they'll keep developing it. But I do like the idea of doing something like what they did with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, where they brought in Ilka, and I feel like that gave Game Freak, one of Game Freak's teams, a bit more time and leeway to do something like Pokemon Legends Arceus. If they do more of that to free themselves up to take more chances on different kinds of Pokemon games, I think that's a great idea. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Were Sony's State of Play. What'd you think of the show overall? What was your favorite announcement? And then also, what about Super Nintendo World being announced now early 2023, heading to California? Are you going to be making a trip there? And then Sony's big push into PC. What do you think the next game is going to be announced from them that'll be heading there? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.